Welcome to the Big Change the Film interview series, and my name is Jason Cohen. I personally have lost over 120 pounds, and every week I chat with inspiring individuals who've also lost significant amounts of weight, hear their stories, and pass along some of that inspiration to others. Including today's guest and myself, the total pounds lost is now up to 12,537 pounds. If you've been enjoying this interview series, there's a couple ways that you can help support it. The first is easy and it's free, and that's by going and rating us on iTunes. That helps others to find out about the people I'm interviewing, hear their stories, and help just spread the message. The second way is I do sell t-shirts, and I also include with those t-shirts stickers through my website, bigchangethefilm.com. 100% of those profits go directly towards the production of this interview series, as well as the film itself. This week's guest is Alishea Basson. Alicia told me that by the age of 6, she was 80 pounds. After she had her 4 children, her weight began to skyrocket and really began to affect her quality of life. Her turning point came one morning after the night before she had had 7 biscuits, 7 pieces of fried chicken, as well as a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. She now says that every meal is a choice. Every meal is an opportunity for a healthy choice. Before, she described herself as a bit of a couch potato. She now runs 4 days a week, 10 miles. She's lost 105 pounds and feels better and has more energy than ever. We have a fantastic conversation, and thanks so much for tuning in. I'm here with Alishea Basson, and we got connected. I saw her story on Forks Over Knives and reached out to her. She's kind enough to spend a little time to chat with me. So first off, thanks for taking the time to chat, and maybe we could just start off with a little bit about yourself and where you're from or where you live.
I'm 32 years old. I live in Virginia. I'm a stay-at-home mother of 4. Pretty active now. I am a whole food, plant-based vegan. I've been whole food, plant-based for about 5 months. The transition's been really easy, and I'm just living life and enjoying it.
Awesome. I saw in the Forks Over Knives article, you said, to quote you, "I've been overweight for as long as I can remember. I'd come to accept that being overweight was just my lot in life." So were you bigger as a kid? Where did the weight kind of start to come on for you?
Yes, I started to get heavy probably around 6. I was probably close to 80, 85 pounds at age 6. And it just kept going with age, with puberty, with high school. And then, of course, with the birth of my first child, it just kept packing on, and I never took it off.
Wow. And then, were people around you bigger? Were you kind of the only one?
My family, oddly enough, they are on the smaller side, and I was like a closet eater, an emotional eater. So if my family's very joking. They think it's joking, but it's kind of hurtful, and I would eat my feelings. So they were small, and I was big, and the bigger I got, the more they teased, so I just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Wow. And then, had you tried previously to diet or to, kind of combat the weight gain?
Yes, but I never had proper education on nutrition and ways to eat healthy. So my idea was, well, if I'm not eating McDonald's or fast food, then hey, I can eat this 6 pieces of chicken that I made at home because I made it. It's healthy. I didn't know. So my idea of dieting was completely wrong. So everything I tried was failure.
And when you say that, because I think that's the same for a lot of people, it's the same for me, you don't know what you don't know. So where had your reference from diet, from healthy food and things like that kind of come from now that you think back on it?
Thinking back on it, it was probably an old boss. I had came to work one day with, it looked like Thanksgiving in the middle of July, all the food I had made. And I was like, I'm on a diet. And she was like, girl, you can't eat that much if you're on a diet. And I had just her saying that made me go research and go look to see what she meant, because I just honestly thought that a diet meant you weren't eating fast food, you weren't eating cake. I didn't know that it was, limiting your portions and making sure that you're getting the proper nutrients.
Wow, yeah. And then, give me an idea whenever you talked about, high school, post high school, maybe, even while you were having kids or after, like, what did food look like for you? What were kind of some of the major contributors to your weight gain when you look back?
Pizza was a big one. I would eat. At the time, the pizza place where I lived, they ran a special 2 large, 2 toppings for $20. Yeah. So I would get 1 large, and that would be like my pre-dinner. And then the second large would be my supper. And I would have bagels, bags of cookies, donuts. I love fried chicken, anything fried, seafood. I mean, I didn't have like there was no. I wasn't picky. Just as long as it was deep fried and sweet, I was for it.
Equal opportunity eater.
Yes.
And then, I know that, you had 4 kids, you have 4 kids, and you talk about your weight kind of skyrocketing in that. Was that more during pregnancy, in between pregnancy, after pregnancy? Like, when did that really kind of pack on?
See, oddly enough, during my pregnancies, I actually lost weight because I was sick. But then, like, as soon as I gave birth, I breastfed all my children. And your appetite really picks up when you're breastfeeding. So that's when I really gained. Like, I would gain 60 pounds within the first 3 months of having the baby. So I couldn't even say it was baby weight because it was post baby weight. I gained all after the birth of the children.
Wow. And then, I think you said, by age 30, you suffered from knee pain, sleep apnea, seizures, your hair falling out, being constantly tired. That sounds pretty miserable.
Yeah, it was miserable, and I kind of got in denial about it. I said, I'm getting older, so yeah, things are going to hurt. My hair is probably falling out because I need to get a new shampoo. I'm having these seizures because I'm stressed out. You rationalize it. I think as a culture, we have a tendency to, treat the symptoms rather than the actual cause of the symptoms. And that's what I was doing. I wasn't looking at the root of the problem. I was just looking at the things that were occurring because of the problem.
And was the idea of, your food or what you were taking in affecting all that? Like, was that even on your mind, or was that so far out of the picture?
Well, see, I have my grandmother. I spent a lot of summers with her, and she's a typical Southern woman. She has a garden, she cans, she does all that fun stuff. She's very active. And I've always had that example of someone who eats a lot of fruits and vegetables, and she's still alive. She's 87 years old. She can run circles around me and you. And, I started to notice that I was getting away from that. My plates were very tan. It was like the vegetable on my plate was potatoes with butter and cheese and sour cream. That was my vegetable. And I was like, this isn't me. This isn't mine. This isn't what I like. The greens that I used to have disappeared because I just was like, oh, I don't want that. And the feelings, I was drawing parallels, but very vaguely.
Yeah, and I'm also just thinking, you got 4 kids, sleep apnea, seizures, like all those kinds of things. It's got to be, you have to be exhausted every single day, constantly, 24 hours a day.
There was actually a point where when my youngest he wasn't even 1 yet. He was about to start walking. And I mean, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I literally just passed out, knocked out sleep on the couch. And he's roaming around, and his older sister's roaming around. She's 3. And I'm like, okay, I've got to do better because, they can't watch themselves and I can't be sitting here asleep. And the odd thing about it was I had a full 8 hours of sleep the night prior. And at 10 o'clock, I was done. So it was like at that point, it was like, I've really got to turn this around. I don't know how I'm going to turn it around, but I've got to turn it around.
And did you have anything, medically speaking, that was documented as far as like, were you on any medications, or, had you gotten anything from the doctor that said, hey, this is what you have, or this is where you're headed?
Yes, I had just had my physical, and they prescribed it to me, but I'm not an easy patient, so I didn't take the medicine. They prescribed the anti-seizure medicine and the high blood pressure medicine, and they wanted me to come back in 3 months to test again for the cholesterol. And they wanted me to go see a specialist for my knees, but I didn't do any of that because I was like, I'm gonna try something different, and then we'll come back. So that was my decision. I didn't go for what they said.
Wow. And then, you in the article you talked about your turning point. I'm not sure if it's the same thing that you just referred to.
Yep,
Um,
that's it.
do you mind talking about what your dinner was the night before and kind of how that
Oh,
unfolded?
that's bad. So it was a Saturday night, and my husband had called, and he said, "Babe, what do you want for dinner?" And I was like, "Let's get some Popeyes." And he was like, "Okay, what do you want?" And I was like, just get some chicken, biscuits, whatever. And we were hemming and hawing back and forth about the amount of chicken. And I was like, well, if you buy 11, you get 11 free. And he was like, okay, that sounds good. We got a pretty large family. And he was like, how many biscuits? I love biscuits. What Southern girl doesn't love biscuits? Okay. So I was like, get a dozen. And there was a pause. And he was like, a dozen? I was like, yeah, get a dozen. He was like, all right. So he comes home, and I ate 7 pieces of chicken and 7 biscuits and a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Yes, a pint of Ben and Jerry's, the half baked Ben and Jerry's. And like, when you're finished with a plate like that, you look at the plate and you see the bones, and it hit me. I was like, what did I just do? I felt so bad. I didn't want I was mortified. I couldn't believe that I ate all that. And it's not like I hadn't ate earlier in the day. I had a huge bowl of Chipotle for lunch, and I think I got like a Grand Slam for breakfast. So it wasn't like I was, really hungry. It was just it tasted good, so I ate it.
Yeah, I think that what you just said is the key there. Like you're not hungry when I overeat and overeat and overeat. I'm not hungry. It tastes good and it kind of makes you, at least for a moment, kind of feel like warm or whatever that whether it's the dopamine or whatever. So you reference the next morning I woke up. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be more to life. So what did the next day look like for you? Like what, you'd had this resolve to change it, to turn it around, but you also talk about, you had accepted you'd been overweight your entire life. So like, that's a daunting thought going forward to kind of turn it around.
Yes. So I woke up that morning, and like most people do, I picked up my phone, and rather than go straight to social media, I took a selfie. So I looked at myself and I was like, okay, this is day one. Like I literally said, this is day one. And I got up and I said, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm going to educate myself, and I'm going to, I'm just going to try. I know I'm not going to, hit it every day, but just one day at a time. So I woke up, got myself together, and I looked at it as every meal is a choice. It's an opportunity to make a healthy choice. So I chose that morning to, instead of having my normal 3 donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, that I was going to have a green juice and a hard boiled egg. And I just kept choosing every day, every meal, to make a different choice. And then slowly, when you're not eating poorly, you get a lot of energy. And even though I had 4 kids, I was bursting at the seams. I wanted to get moving. So I started getting active. And with that, that just kept pushing me more into more change and wanting to learn more. And then, of course, through the power of social media, you start finding out like things like What the Health come out and Forks Over Knives. And that really was like, okay, I'm good. I got it. So it was just literally one day I woke up and I just decided that that was enough. No more.
And then how was it? You've got a household, it sounds like, of six. Um,
Yes.
I'm thinking, they're probably eating things that you're saying you're no longer going to eat. And, how's that process? What was that process like in the beginning, and how's that evolved?
In the beginning, it was very hard because I prepare all the meals here. I cook a lot. I love to bake. So in the beginning, I had to catch myself, you know, don't put your finger in the icing and, put it in your mouth. It was very hard. But over time, I stopped looking at it as what I couldn't have and started looking at it as what I could have. I didn't take things away, I just replaced them. So doing those replacements, it's made it easier. And because my entire household they still eat the same, and I'm the only one that eats different, they see my food now and they're like, "Ooh, I want to try it." So it works out good. It's still a struggle sometimes because, you know, habits are hard to break. And even when you form new ones, the old stuff felt good and you want to fall back into it, but I'll never go back to that because I feel too good now.
Yeah, I bet. And one thing that I saw that you mentioned in that article that I thought was kind of interesting was you gave yourself, once you decided that you wanted to give the whole food plant-based thing a try, you basically gave yourself a runway of like 4 months to
Mm-hmm.
kind of fully make that transition. Why did you decide to take that approach? I know for a lot of people, they're like, tomorrow I'm going to rip everything out of the kitchen and I'm going full board. But you gave yourself some time to kind of ease into it. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, for me, just because I know I'm a creature of habit. And um, I knew that if I were to say, let me throw everything out of here and I'm just going to eat like this, I wasn't going to be successful because I need to kind of ease myself into those type of things. And I figured, I had read up on it. People said there are two choices. You can go straight in or you can transition slowly. And it just seemed like the slow transition would work better for me. I liked being able to say, this week, no this, but I'll add that. And I feel like that approach worked well because it was a gradual transition. I mean, I ate like this my whole life. 30 years is a long time. So I felt like that approach was better. And I feel like I've been successful that way. And with me having to cook the food for my family, it was a lot easier because no matter what I did, throwing it out wasn't going to keep me away from it because I still had to prepare it for them. So I had to take the baby steps to train myself to not want that. And it worked because now I can fix them anything. I mean, even my favorite foods, I can fry them chicken. And now the smell of it doesn't smell good anymore. Not even bacon. And everybody loves bacon. And it doesn't smell good to me anymore. I'm like, I'm good. I'll have some quinoa.
Yeah, and I'm thinking one of the things that seem like between some of your favorite foods before, white flour was in there a bit, sugar was in there a bit, fat was in there a bit, also fried foods. You talked about tan foods. How long did it take? Because you're eating completely different now. How long did it take for you to make that transition as far as taste wise goes? Because I'm sure if you go from eating Popeye's biscuits to a kale salad the next day, the kale salad is probably not going to taste the most tantalizing.
Well, for me, I actually enjoyed it. You know, um, Everything that I transitioned to, like I found a bunch of fun recipes and blogs to follow, and it actually tasted better. I felt like I was tasting more. It wasn't just covered in salt and sugar. I could actually I was tasting different things, and my palate was expanding. And I saw that, the things that I was eating, I thought it tasted good, but it really didn't.
And then, you talked about a couple things. You talked about finding a bunch of websites and blogs that were really helpful. Any come to mind that you used early on or that you still kind of go to these days?
Clean Food Crush was one that I looked at a lot. Of course, I joined the Forks Over Knives community, which was awesome because they had a lot of plant-based, newly transitioning plant-based people. So they shared things that they liked and didn't like, and worked well and didn't work well. And I followed Dr. McDougall. He's a really good one. And just a lot of plant-based communities. Like, there's not a lot, so I pretty much follow them all. So, but the Clean Food Crush and Forks Over Knives community were the two main ones that I followed in the beginning.
Okay. And then I know you said, you like to bake, you love baked goods before. Is there anything that you found that have been good go-tos as far as that? Or have you just...
Yeah. Oh my goodness, there's a ton. You don't have to, like, I had this mentality that you had to have butter, flour, sugar to bake. No way. You don't need it. I make, I call them my superfood cacao pumpkin muffins. They have no flour. They're really good. I like a recipe that I got from Forks Over Knives for, I actually had it for breakfast today, blueberry oat breakfast muffins. It's an amazing blueberry muffin. Tastes so good. So moist. And it's only 90 calories per muffin. I mean, it's completely guilt-free.
Well, I'll have to get the recipe for the first one, for the cacao pumpkin. That sounds delicious. You mentioned in the article, it sounds like, here as well, you've got way more energy than you had before. I think you've taken up some physical activities that you didn't partake in before. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So before I was a true couch potato, and now I am training for my first 5K. That's coming up in July of 2018. And I'm hoping to do the Army 10 miler. And then next year in 2019, I'm shooting for the big one for the Marine Corps Marathon. So now I went from being a complete couch potato to 5 days a week. I get up in the morning at 4 a.m. I run 10 miles. By 6 o'clock, I've ran 10 miles. And, I do a second workout in the middle of the day to work on, my flexibility and my balance and my core. So, yeah, it's definitely picked up tremendously. I went from no exercise at all to just full-on marathon training, running, weightlifting. I can't be still now.
How is, this new way of eating, this new way of life, this weight loss, how has it changed your relationships with the people, closest to you, your kids, your husband?
With my kids, my relationship with food has changed. So their relationship with food has changed. I did have my oldest daughter. She was diagnosed as pre-diabetic last year. And with the changes that we've made, she's no longer in that range anymore. She's in a healthy range.
Wow.
And my middle daughter, she's, of course, following mommy. She got a little on the heavy side, and she's actually lost some weight, and she's very active now, plays softball. My husband, his relationship with food has stayed the same as mine has changed. But I'm hoping that my example will, he'll see it and, come on over and try it out a little bit. As far as like my extended family, those relationships have changed because they kind of look at you like, why would you do that? They don't see why. But then, as the months go on and they come back around, they're like, wow, you look so good. You're so bright in the face. You look so happy. And I'm like, yeah, it's all because of my diet. And it's hard for them to accept that because people don't connect your diet with as many things as it's connected to. But now that they're seeing it and it's living proof because I'm right here, they're accepting it and they're like, yeah, slowly but surely you're getting text messages and phone calls. So tell me how to do it. Is it easy? Is it hard? So I'm just one person at a time trying to change lives.
That's awesome. Yeah, if someone's listening to this only via audio and you haven't seen a picture, you should definitely go see a picture because it truly does look like you've reversed the aging process. I kind of, no, hopefully this is not offensive at all, but when I saw your first picture versus your second picture, you truly look younger in your second picture than you do in your first, which is incredible.
Well, I thank you. I'm not offended. I feel good. I'm glad. She is gone, honey. You don't have to worry about that. She's gone. She is not coming back.
That's great. Looking back in this process, is there anything about this that surprised you about the journey that you just didn't expect at the beginning?
The most surprising thing I would say is in the beginning, I thought it was just about my weight. And then it became more about healing myself and, my past emotional scars and traumas and, being able to look. I gained a new lens on life as I transitioned to this healthy lifestyle and bigger appreciation for myself and a lot of self-love, a ton of confidence. And then, everything that I had inward, I had a desire to put it outward. I wanted to share it. I wanted everyone to feel this way. I wanted to reach out to the mom who struggled just like me, who had the knee pain, who had the hair falling out, who felt like they just weren't enough, and felt like they were stuck. So it really did, that part of the journey really, threw me for a loop because I honestly thought it was just about me. And then I realized that it wasn't. It was bigger than me.
Wow. And then I meant to ask, have you been back to the doctor since? Do you have any kind of idea on your numbers
Yeah.
now?
I have gone back to the doctor and this was big for me because before I was obese and, they like to throw that morbidly obese on there. And for the first time in probably since I was a child, I am in a normal weight range for my BMI. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. The markers for the seizure are no longer there. I don't have the knee pain. My MCL that was slightly torn is completely fine now. So we're all systems are a go. My doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, and you'll live to 100. And last year, this very same doctor told me that I was going to be diabetic before I was 35.
Wow. And then, I think the only thing you mentioned that wasn't basically reversed or super well managed was your sleep apnea. I know that's something for a lot of people.
Oh, that's gone. I have no issues with that. My husband says I don't even snore anymore. So
wow.
That's good. I sleep. He's like, sometimes when I'm asleep, he's like, I have to put a mirror under your nose because you're so quiet now. So the sleep apnea is gone. And I'm thankful because you really can't get a restful night's sleep if you're constantly not breathing through the night.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how debilitating that can be, not just for your actual sleep itself, but how much it affects you 24 hours a day in the aftermath,
Well, and that CPAP machine is no fun. Being hooked up to that, you can't, you're forced literally to sleep on your back. And if you're not a back sleeper, which I'm not, I'm a stomach sleeper, it's impossible.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I was on the verge of potentially needing one, and super thankful that I never had to cross that threshold. If you're having a conversation with somebody who's at the beginning of this journey, maybe specifically to a mom who is where you were, who's having those aches and pains and thinking it's just a matter of getting old and trying to figure out, what's a way out or what to do next, what would you tell that person on day one?
I tell them that it's just that. It's day one. Just don't look at this for the long game. Just look at it for the short game. We're just going to focus on today. And if you can get through today, then we'll tackle tomorrow the exact same way. And I'd also say, don't be too hard on yourself. If you do slip up, if you do fall down, just get back up and get back in it because it's worth it. You're worth it. Just put in the work, put in the effort, put in the energy, educate yourself, and the changes will come. It just takes time.
And if you could go back in time and have a conversation with yourself, when you were the Popeyes loving, beige eating person and, could give yourself some words of encouragement, to get started earlier, what would you say to that person?
Oh my goodness. I would tell that person that you're enough and you're worthy of love and attention. And sometimes as moms, we have a tendency to give so much to everybody else and we never stop and give to ourselves. So I would definitely tell her, slow down, take some time and put something into you, because the more that you put into yourself, is you can give more to the world when you take care of yourself first. But if you don't put yourself in the equation somewhere, nothing good is going to come from that, and everyone around you suffers the consequences when you're not taking care of yourself.
That's all fantastic advice. Well, lastly, if people are hearing your story and want to follow along or want to connect with you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. You can find me. I don't have no fancy hashtags or names. It's just Alishea Basson on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow along. I'm still on my journey. I'm still trying new things. I'm still a baby in this lifestyle. Only 5 months into a whole food, plant-based vegan. So if you're transitioning, I am definitely the one to follow because I'm still on my journey.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on everything. You look fantastic. It sounds like you feel fantastic. And I'll look forward to following you along on that journey. And thanks again for the time today.
You're welcome.